You're listening to the Things You Don't Hear in Church podcast, a show where your hosts, Derry and Ethan, discuss the controversial topics often avoided by the church. They also discuss culture, society, and everyday goofs. And now, Derry and Ethan.
Hello, and welcome to the show where I give an opinion and then Ethan gives another opinion, and sometimes they're the same.
Talking, I completely spaced and zoned out on something, and then I realized, oh, we're recording. And I was like, I should probably say something.
Yeah.
Because I just was thinking about my coffee I was so excited about.
Nice. Just to inform everybody, all of the gusto I have right now is all fake. I'm very tired, and I think
Define gusto.
I think I'm sick. Just like energy.
Oh.
Like, yeah.
Never heard that before.
It's all a sham. I'm just...
Fake it till you make it.
I think I'm sick, but we're podcasting. I'm excited.
Yeah. You're only sick if you let yourself be sick.
Sure.
Come here again for more health questions and answers by Ethan.
Your leg's not broken. You just think it is.
Bro, you're a Christian. No, I'm not going to go there, right? I'm not going to go there.
Not today. Not today.
Can't be offending people less than 2 minutes in the show.
Yeah.
We got to wait till 20 minutes when they're hooked.
Are you tired?
Yeah, I have. I'm like really tired, but also super not tired. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned last week, I started the BCC.
Seems like a paradox.
And this week, I've been doing paragraph titles through Genesis for the last I did it from like 1:30 to like 4:50, and then I stopped until now.
I'm pretty sure there's something in the Bible about he who adds to my word or
it's not
subtracts.
adding. I'm literally copying the words in the paragraph. I'm just writing more.
Just joking.
Not gonna go there either. There's so many jokes I want to make right now, bro.
Bible jokes.
It's been really good. I'm really tired, and after this, I'm going to go back to work until midnight.
Nice.
And then I plan on waking up at 6 and then praying and then working from 7 to 9:30 on more work for class.
Nice.
And I've never been in college, so I just assume this is what it's like. But I had one job where I worked like 56 hours a week and had other things every other hour of the day.
Yeah, me too.
So it's okay. Like I'll be fine. I'm just like super excited. So yes, I'm exhausted, but I'm just like so zoned in and ready to take on the week that I'm just like, let's go. Also, it's my third cup of coffee.
Nice.
So
we just need to rebrand our show to be a show where two guys think of very sensitive biblical jokes, think of them, and think, I shouldn't say that, and just laugh to themselves. And so there's not actually any content. Just us thinking of jokes and then not saying them.
Bro, that happens.
Can I say that? I don't think you can say that. That's probably not
I'll get shut
quite
down.
too far.
I'll get canceled.
Yeah.
There's so many times I want to make jokes, like in class too, like something will happen. I'm like, oh, Ethan, you're an adult, be responsible. But yeah, it's a fun time. I love the Bible. I love humor.
Me too.
Good news this week. We got our first Patreon.
Hey.
We have 2 tiers. We have a $3 tier and a $5 tier, and we got a $5 supporter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's just real good, real exciting, real encouraging that you guys see the value and you agree that there's value in this and you want to partake in what God's doing. It's like super humbling.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's just like $5 a month, it's just like, whoa.
Someone gives us money to talk.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, they give us money to obey God.
Yeah.
But yeah, by obeying God, we're talking.
Yeah, same thing. Yes.
But.
And we enjoy it.
Can I just tell you about this coffee? I just really like it. I usually get Ethiopian Yirgacheffe when I can find it. And I found some at Target for the first time on Island in that's not like super bougie coffee. I found it at Target and it's organic and fair trade, which means
nice.
Everyone, like all the farmers and everyone in the processing is getting paid a good amount. I love it. And Ethiopian Yirgacheffe is my favorite. Went there 2 weeks ago. They didn't have it. So actually they did, but I thought, I'm going to try Honduras. So I got some Honduras. It's really good. And this week they didn't have either of those. So I got this new stuff called like Tierra del Sol. I've never had it before, but it's a medium roast, which that means nothing to you because you don't love coffee.
You know what Tierra means?
No. I know Sierra means mountain, right? But
is it Sierra del Sol?
No, it's Tierra.
Oh.
I don't know what it means.
Well,
either.
del Sol means the sun.
Oh, really? Maybe it's close to the
coffee of the sun.
Maybe it's on a mountain. But it's a light roast. It's a medium roast, and it makes for a good cup of iced coffee and warm and hot coffee, and that's kind of rare. Because you can have like really good warm coffee and make it iced, and then it's like, ooh, this sucks. For everyone who's into coffee culture, you feel me.
You need to make a podcast called like Thoughts and Brews or like Scriptures and Brews or something like that, where you just like talk about a different kind of coffee every time and also like the Bible.
And I have a beer. I have 2 drinks there.
Oh yeah,
brews.
2 different kind of brews.
2 different brews.
Every other week can be the other kind of brew.
Yeah.
Or no, you release one in the morning, The beer one and the
The
coffee
beer one. Derry had an experience with coffee last night. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about the greatest day of your week?
Yeah, so I have pooped 9 times since last night. You made me some strong coffee, and I had a whole cup of coffee, and I almost never drink coffee.
And it was like 7 p.m.
Yeah, it was 7 p.m. And so I got 1 hour of sleep last night.
No, it was 5 because I had to go at 7.
Okay, well, I got 1 hour of sleep last night for other reasons besides the coffee, but the coffee didn't help. But I also, before I went to sleep, from 5 to like 10 when I got in bed, I pooped 5 times.
Oh,
And
that's rough.
the other 4 have been today. So I'm still feeling the effects, I think, of 1
Right.
cup of coffee.
You just got to keep doing that every day, and then it stops eventually.
No, I just never drink coffee again.
You won't do that.
Yeah, I will.
Bet. Never
No.
again?
Well,
Bro,
maybe
put
sometimes.
money on that.
But I just won't drink as much.
20 XRP.
Mm-mm.
That's a lot of money someday.
Someday.
Well, we have a fun topic today.
Yeah.
A fun topic that everyone's
some
going to
people.
hear and think, you guys lied.
Unless you're convicted, then it might not be fun for
If you're
you.
addicted.
No, convicted.
Oh, convicted. I thought you said
Yeah.
addicted. If you're convicted, it's still good. Conviction's the blessing of the Lord that proves that He's sanctifying us.
True.
You know? We always think of conviction as this like terrible thing that like, oh, you did bad, so now God's got to correct you. But the Bible says He's going to conform you to the image of His Son. Every time you get convicted, it's like, this is God at work fulfilling His promise.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely.
So
Pretty cool.
we think it's fun. Most people won't. Why don't you tell them what it is?
We're talking about gummy bears today and why sugar-free ones are
Yes.
very,
I'm
very bad for you.
So glad you went there. Sugar-free gummy bears can
And
be
Amazon.
equated to sin.
Yeah.
Because
Here's how.
Here's how. Ready?
Link in bio.
What?
Watch to the end. Fun surprise.
Yeah, okay, we're going to get back to that at the end of the show. Why sugar-free gummy bears are correlate to sin.
Yeah. But we're actually talking today about self-denial. And so self-denial is a very interesting topic. I would say if you've been a Christian most of your life, I think you would probably have heard many sermons on this topic, which kind of goes against like...
Not me.
Really?
Promise.
Hmm.
Maybe
I
they did,
guess,
I just zoned out.
I guess like not directly on this topic of self-denial, but it just kind of implied that like it's something you need to do,
Yeah, like-
but you don't think about it, right?
You should, as a Christian, hear about self-denial. But in my experience, I heard more about how to have a good life.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a disconnect between like what sin is and like self-denial. We've almost accepted, at least in most of mainstream culture where Christians exist, we've adopted like 2 streams of thinking. One, like I have to not sin and not do these things, but these things aren't denying myself. They're just like things I shouldn't do. If I feel a certain
Like
way,
murder.
Yeah, like big things, right? But
Don't
if I
murder.
feel a certain way, that's like who I am, and I can't deny myself. I gotta be true to myself, so I'm gonna do that thing, right? Does that make sense? So, like, food can be an example, sex can be an example. There's a lot of examples of things that we make a part of our identity, and we make them idols, and we're supposed to be denying ourselves of those things. And like not all of those things are sins, right? Some of them
Right.
are good things, just
Right.
different things God asks us to deny ourselves of at different times. You got any thoughts before we dive in?
I pretty much agree with what you said. Like, when it comes to the idea of self-denial, a lot of people think like, oh yeah, deny the things that are bad, but obviously your flesh wants, like
Yeah.
drug use. And it's like, yes,
Yeah.
I also agree, don't do drugs.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily, it goes further than that, right? Because
Right.
if you just stop at what's sinful, then it's like, you probably have other destructive habits in your life that God will require you to give up that probably aren't sinful, but they're keeping you from how deep He wants to take you.
Yeah.
And the heart, when you hear that, it shouldn't be like, oh no, God's gonna make me give this up. I don't want to give it up. It should be, praise God that He's asking me to give this up, because that means He's gonna take me even further in His presence.
Yeah.
And whatever He asks you to give up, and we'll get into that, whatever it looks like, and however He asks you to do self-denial, it's not gonna be easy immediately, but
Sometimes,
it's going to be worth it. And once you discipline yourself to
Yeah.
righteousness, as the Bible calls it, then it turns out to be better in the end.
Would you say like a good definition of self-denial would be just anything God calls you to deny yourself of?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's just, it would be giving up habits, mindsets, desires you have for the purpose of godliness in the pursuit of sanctification.
Yeah.
And you don't got to be legalistic about it. Be like, okay, now I'm going to deny myself sleep, and I'm going to get 2 hours of sleep and pray 4 hours a night. It's like, well,
right.
God also wants you to flourish as a human being and get a good amount of sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe there are nights when God says, hey, don't sleep tonight, go pray.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
probably not every night. You'll
Yeah.
die.
So you're saying that there are some things that we're supposed to deny ourselves of that aren't necessarily bad, like sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you think of any like biblical examples of when God like asked someone to deny themselves? If you can't, I'll try to think of something.
Oh, like when
when God like asks people in the Bible to deny themselves of something that's not necessarily bad.
God asked Isaac to sacrifice his son.
Yeah.
Sons
aren't bad.
That's a pretty big deal. If you haven't read the Bible and you're just listening to this, you're like, God did what? How can he be good? He didn't end up going through with it. God provided a substitute. He just wanted to test Abraham to see where his heart was. But the idea that Abraham was willing to say, okay, you know what? God promised me a son, and God is asking me to sacrifice my son. Then it probably and like the thing is that God promised that this son, his name is Isaac, would be the way by which God brought about his promise. So in Abraham's mind, he's like, I know God keeps his promises. God has promised to use Isaac in this regard. If God asked me to give up Isaac, he can probably do something to bring Isaac back.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he had full trust that God was going to fulfill his promise while Abraham walked in obedience of sacrificing his son. And God did that, and he didn't have to kill his son.
Yeah.
So there's just a little snippet about
Yeah.
Abraham. That is nothing. It's self-denial a little bit, but I want to give some context so you don't think God's a tyrant.
Yeah. I would say like all of the minor prophets as well. Like basically any prophet was called in some way to deny themselves, right? Like the craziest things that they had to do.
Ezekiel had to cook fire over poop and eat it.
Yeah.
Not the poop, but eat his food over a poop fire.
Right. So to obey the Lord, he had to deny himself of like the most basic human like necessities, right?
And he had to sleep on his left side for 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
I'm pretty sure that is either Jeremiah or Ezekiel, but that was like, I read it the other week, but I was just like, that's insane. If God said, Ethan, you can only cook your food over the grill, I'd be like, okay, cool, but the coals are poop. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what? And then I'd probably think, God wouldn't want that for me. God wants my well-being. That's not, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. Like, I would just like think, God doesn't want that.
Right.
You know, but it's like.
Right, so foreign.
Maybe God, he probably won't now in this new covenant, but.
Right.
But the idea that it wasn't even a reality in my mind that God would ask me to do something like that a few years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's also another example of the rich man Jesus is talking to, and he's asking him like, what I have to do to follow you and stuff like that, right? And he says, all you have to do is sell everything you have and come follow me. So it's not that like his money is bad, right? God created money, right? He's saying like, would you give up everything? Would you deny yourself of all these things that are yours to come follow me? You know what I mean? Like all of Christian life in following Jesus is denying yourself.
Yeah, and it goes into that whole idea like with the rich man. Now, for just a minor detail, I don't know if I'd say God created money, although God created humans who created money, so if you want to say that. But
well, God put value on things.
Yeah, he puts value.
Which is what money is.
Okay.
In a way.
Yeah.
Representation for something that has value.
Yeah, it's besides the point. But the idea, like, when the rich man, right, he's in society, he's rich, everyone knows that having a high position in society is a good thing and something to be desired. Or at least it looks like a good thing. It looks like something to be desired. And so what God is asking by saying, hey, give up all your money to follow me and give to the poor, what he's saying is, like, give up your societal status. Yeah. Give up your status of being recognized when you go places and loved and thought of as this awesome guy to be a nobody to follow me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big call.
Yeah.
And so, or like a lot of people, like, God says, like, this one guy's like, hey, I want to follow you. He's like, okay. He's like, hey, can I go say bye to my family first? And he's like, he who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is not worthy of following me. And he's like, hey, follow me. Let's go right now. And this guy's like, follow? Midwest.
Yeah, you sound a little.
Follow?
Yeah.
Follow me. Sorry. And then he's like, but can I do this? And then God replies, hey, man, like, this is it, bro. Like,
yeah.
There's no other thing you should have on your agenda other than following God.
Absolutely. I think in Christian circles, this is very normal. At least like the idea of all of these stories, you've read them before, you hear about it all the time. But I think when it gets a little dicey is when we talk about denying yourself of something that's a part of your identity.
Yeah,
You know what I
like the
mean?
rich man's money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when something's a part of your identity and you're like, this is who I am, God wouldn't ask me to deny myself of that thing. That's when we've separated like those two things in our culture. Because our culture says we should deny ourselves of stuff all the time, right? You have to deny yourself of stuff to work out.
Oh,
right?
you mean part of, yeah, well,
You have to do a lot of things to deny
it
yourself.
implies it, but culture also says do whatever you want.
Right. But they also know you got to give some stuff up to get stuff, right?
Right.
But the thing that says you shouldn't deny is yourself and who you truly are, right? And but that's completely opposite of what God asks you to do. Most of those examples we gave in the Bible are people denying like the core of who they are,
Yeah.
right? Like sacrificing your son, like there's no more a part of who you are than a father.
That's your bloodline.
Right?
That's like if he's dead, you just don't have a family.
yeah, like you don't have a son anymore,
you just
and that's what you got.
yeah, that's it. Like, and then we're not parents, but we know that a son is a pretty big deal. To give
Yeah.
up. And also Isaac was at this point probably around 30 years old. People speculate.
Right.
So Isaac also had to subject himself and realize, I have to trust my dad in this, and I have to
Right.
give up what I think is my safety
Right.
to do this.
Crazy.
Right? So it's just that trust. It's, I just had a good thought. Being able to do well in self-denial comes with trusting God accurately.
Yeah, absolutely. That he has your best in mind.
Yeah.
Right. And especially for things like sexuality or like
Yeah.
your safety and stuff like that, like things that are really a part of your identity. When God calls us to self-denial, like our culture just says, like that's not okay.
Right.
Like that's harmful, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't deny yourself, like who you truly are. Right.
Yeah.
And they're conflating like those things being who you truly are, when really the only true thing that you can be is either a son of God or not a son of God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? An
And
enemy of
did
him.
you read that scripture yet that specifically talks about that, or are we not there
Which
yet?
one?
The Mark one, I think. Like Jesus' command. Did you read that yet?
No.
Okay. I won't spoil it for you guys.
You can just quote it if you want. It's fine.
Oh well, you have it in front of you. I don't want to butcher it.
There's a lot of them. I like the Luke one more. I think it's Luke 9:23,
Okay.
or something like that. But this one is Mark 8:34, and it says, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Right?
Yeah.
And elaborates a little more in Luke, but it's one of the most famous Bible verses there is.
And now that I think about it, I don't know how many sermons I heard from the pulpit talk about this, but I know in my Christian circle it was talked about enough where I was like, yeah, I gotta do this. But I had a conversation with a young kid the other week, and we were talking, and I said something like, yeah, like homosexuals can be saved,
Yeah.
and he's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know too much about Christianity, I don't think. He grew up in a Christian home, but like of his own personal life, it
Right.
hasn't been that big of a deal for him. And he's like, what Christian? He's like, homosexuals can't be saved. I was like, yeah, they can.
Yeah.
I was like, how? I was like, they just aren't allowed to do the homosexual acts.
Yeah.
They're allowed to like feel how they feel because that's not a sin. The action is a sin.
Right.
And then this guy's like, you're just gonna ask him to not ever like be in a relationship with someone they love ever again? And I said, unless it's someone of the opposite gender, then yeah, I'm asking them to not do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, how can you do that? And I said, because every Christian has to do this.
Yeah.
You know, like I have desires to sleep with women.
Right.
I'm not allowed to act on them.
Right. I have to deny myself.
Yeah. People in the LGBTQ community have certain desires to be with whoever they desire to be with, but they're still not let off the hook just because they have those desires that are different than my desires.
Right.
You know, desire is not an excuse to be let off the hook.
Yeah.
And so we all have to deny ourselves, and it's like the very prerequisite of Christianity is give up your life.
Yeah. Deny yourself.
And the promise that Jesus has along with that idea is that he who saves his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will find it.
Right.
And that's what Jesus says, right?
And that's in the Luke one.
That it's Luke 1?
No, that's in the Luke verse.
Oh, in the
Yeah.
Luke verse.
Luke
Oh,
9.
awesome. Yeah. And that idea of like when you come to the end of yourself and when you deny yourself, and it's a lifestyle, it's a choice and a lifestyle.
Mhm.
When you do that, that's when life really begins. That's when fulfillment really starts. That's
Yeah.
when joy really manifests. You know?
Right. Because if you're putting your identity in something that's not God, you're never going to be truly fulfilled, right? And so if you have your safety and security, like in yourself, like if God asks you to deny yourself and sacrifice something for Him, right? And you don't do it, like that thing has become your idol and your identity, and you get to have that thing instead of God. You know what I mean?
And God, that's something God will give you. Like God will let you have what you decide.
Yeah. If you decide to keep that, like, cool, that's what you
You're
get
just
now.
gonna be stunted.
Yeah. And it's not that, like, you're not saved anymore, right? Like, if you're a Christian, then you're a Christian.
Right.
But, I mean, I guess it would be depending on, like, what
that thing is asking.
Yeah, like
about
where you
this.
are in life and stuff like that. It's more complicated than that. But like the point is like you don't lose your salvation for like not denying yourself when God tells you deny yourself.
Right.
It's just that you're choosing that thing over God, right? And God is not like in the number one position in your life anymore because God asked you to get rid of something for him, and you decided you would choose that thing over him.
And you've just chosen to step into idolatry.
Right.
And the question is like, man, if you're a Christian, I pray and I hope that you see the value of Christ. Right? As a Christian, the goal of our life is to know the value of Christ, know the amazing wonder it is to be a Christian and know God. Like, that's an amazing fact, to know God. And once you really see that, it's like giving things up is not a bad time.
Yeah.
It's like a joyous thing. You know?
If you intimately know God, like when every morning you wake up and you're excited to just be in his presence, you don't have to talk to him. Like, he doesn't talk to you. There's no expectations. You just know he's there and you can be with him, right? Like, when you have that kind of intimacy with the Father, nothing is better than being with him, right? Like, there was nothing you wouldn't give up to be in that place with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing you wouldn't deny yourself of. And so I think when it gets hard is when someone doesn't truly know God in that way, right? Like, they haven't built that kind of relationship with him, and then they don't see him as worthy of those things.
Right.
And it's not just like the experience of knowing God in that way. Even if you just don't know God and his biblical character, you're not going to think him worth giving up whatever it is to gain him.
Yeah. And that's a place that if you're at the place where you're like, hey, I just don't really value God as seriously as I should, and that's why I don't want to give it up. That's not a place that when we say that, we're not trying to shame you into being like, oh, you should be shamed and change. But it's like, you should pray then that like you get to that point.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a song by Shane and Shane called Yearn. And the lyrics say yearn.
Oh, yearn.
It says it's YEARN.
That was just
Your. God, your. But it says it's like, God, I want to yearn for you. That's the lyrics of the song.
Yeah.
And like I was in a place when I was just like, man, I know I love God, but I just don't care to spend time with him.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest, it's like I just don't care. Like I would pray to him. I'm like, God, I like you a lot. I love you. I just don't care to be with you right now, and I know it's not good. Will you help me? And then like the next day I found that song. And it's an old song. It's not new.
Yeah.
But like that song came up on YouTube and I started listening to it, and it's just a cry to say like, I want you.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's where you're at, and that's not a shameful place. It's not
absolutely.
Like,
that's where you're at. That's where you're at.
It's not shame on you. Like God accepts you where you're at. He knows that's where you're at. You don't have to hide from him. But he's like, let's keep going forward. So you just like get in that place where like maybe you're at a place where you're like, I don't want God, but I know I want to want him.
Yeah.
Then pray that.
Yeah. God knows where you're at, and he'll definitely honor like that ask from you, right? Like if God asks you to give something up and you say, God, like I'm not ready to give this thing up, he'll work with you to get to that place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he'll definitely work with you to get to that place.
Yeah, and like it all starts with having an accurate view of God too. Because if you think that God's mean and he's mad at you and he thinks everything you do is bad, and then he asks you to give it up, you think of it as a punishment thing. Right. But if you see God,
it's like something's being taken away from you instead of being given to you.
Right. And if you think of God as the loving Father that he is, who's merciful and wants the best for you and desires the flourishing of humanity.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, will you give this up and come follow me? Then it's like, oh, this thing's hindering me from you? Yeah, I don't want it. Take it. I want to be close to you because you understand. And so what needs to happen is you need to have a heart change or a perspective change on how you view God. Yeah. And that's what I realize that's still happening in my life. Like just yesterday I was watching a sermon, and it was Paul Washer. It was called The 4 Pillars of the Christian Faith or something like that. It's so good, or Christian Life. And he said, why do you think God went through all the trouble to sacrifice his son and forgive your sins just to scold you when you get to heaven?
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's true. God didn't go through all that to stay mad at me.
Be mean, right?
Yeah, he was mad at me at some point, but now he's not. And the Bible says in Isaiah, it was prophesying about Jesus, and he says, like, I will never again be mad at you. Yeah. And it's like, God's never mad at his people.
You're viewed as forgiven.
Yeah. Now, when you're a sinner, I had to say this so I am accountable because I'm accountable to God.
Yeah.
If you're a sinner, you're not saved. John 3:37 says that the wrath of God abides on you.
Yeah, remains on you.
It's remaining on you. But that's because you're not accepting it. Now, when you surrender and come to the end of yourself and deny yourself and ask for salvation, then God forgives you and he takes away all his wrath, because all his wrath that was on you, that was remaining, it was put on Jesus.
Right.
And so that's what also makes the good news so good. It's we have peace with the Creator.
Right. Absolutely.
So I don't know even where we are on your outline anymore. I went off on a tangent, and
That's good.
good luck.
I don't really have an outline, really. No, it's really good. I love all of that. I think it makes it really clear. I think the only other thing we can really talk about is like what is not self-denial, you know? Like how could you take it too far?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like how could we get like too jiggy with it? You know what I mean?
Get jiggy with it.
How do we do
Shout
that?
out to No Big Deal. Come on the show one day.
That'd be fantastic.
We'll tag him in a clip. Well, what happened? I would say taking it too far also starts with a mindset.
Yeah.
Right? Everything starts with your perspective and how you view things and your heart attitude towards things. So you could not even start self-denial and take it too far if you're starting from a place of, I'm working for God's love.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this up so God will love me more. I'm going to give this up so I can show God that I care about you so much.
Right.
It's like, okay, you already missed it. Like you're
Right.
starting from last place already.
Right.
So even before that, you got to get yourself in a place of like, okay, I got to deny myself in the things that God's calling me to. One, for sin. Yes, if you're sinning, stop. Deny yourself. Stop sinning.
Yeah.
But there's other things where it's like, maybe you have an addiction to coffee. At one point, I woke up and when I was home, I opened my eyes and the first thought that entered my mind was, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get coffee. And then I felt like God's facial expression was like, huh. I just thought you loved me. Or something like that. Like God was, in my experience with God is always kind of like, I don't want to say sarcastic or something. But
He makes
God,
facial expressions.
Yeah,
to you.
he's just
yeah,
more
same for
direct.
me.
He's just like, what are you doing?
We're friends.
And so I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, God. Like, I care about you more than I care about coffee. I'm not going to drink that today because obviously it's gotten a hold of my heart in a way I don't want it to.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just recognizing like, hey, today I'm not going to have coffee. Or I'm going to spend time with God before I have coffee.
Right.
And so taking it too far would look like doing it for the purpose of earning God's favor.
Yeah.
But also going to the extreme where you're just killing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like I said earlier, like if you're just denying sleep, so you can be, if you can, so you're like in the presence of God, like I need to pray 4 hours a night. I'm gonna wake up from like at 12 and pray till midnight or till 4, and then do this and quiet time this and like at times that is probably good. Like Jesus in the Bible like prayed all night, but it wasn't every single night. He also took naps in the middle of the day.
Right.
Right. But it's the idea of like if you're just working and working and working and striving, that's when it's wrong. What do you think? What do you think would be taken too far?
I would say self-denial, like a version of self-denial that could be bad would be an example of Buddhism, right? Like you think God just wants to deny you of everything that's good, and somehow like you denying yourself of pleasure, any pleasure, right, would be a good thing, which is the foundation of Buddhism, right? Is denying yourself of all pleasures. And so that's not God's heart at all. God isn't just like a joy robber, right, and doesn't want you to have any pleasures because God created pleasure.
It's actually the source of joy, ironically.
Yeah.
It's not ironic.
Yeah, and the creator of pleasure. And he definitely like wants those things for you, or else he wouldn't have created you with the ability to perceive them, right?
That's
and so if you're the kind of person that thinks like I just need to deprive myself of all of these pleasures and joys because they're bad, or even if you get your mindset twisted a little bit and you're denying yourself of all the right things, but you start viewing those things that aren't sin as bad things because God asked you to deny yourself of them, right? So like if God
judging people.
Yeah, if a classic example I think is in like purity culture is like we start viewing sex as like evil and like almost taboo in a way where like it's not. Like God created it as a really good thing, but because we're always like talking about denying ourselves of it, it becomes a thing that you like never want to do.
Sex is sin.
Sex is sin. Sex is sin. Get some shirts this
Yo.
But just like a little part down here, like on the sleeve, like sex is sin.
What if it
right
just
there.
like what if it said it all the way around it?
Whoa, yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
now we got a really cool idea. Also copyright that shirt idea, so please don't steal it from us.
Sex is sin. Oh no, broke the chair. Anyways, so yeah, like getting it twisted in that way of thinking those things are bad, just because God has called you to deny yourself of those things for a time, right? Or like if you started thinking like coffee is evil, like it's not evil, it's just something that you like made your God or made like a thing that you need.
I did not.
I did not.
Get that word out of your mouth.
Right? So coffee's not bad, right? These things that a lot of the things God calls us to deny ourselves of aren't bad things. Right?
Or even like also alcohol. Like in the Christian culture, it's like, don't drink alcohol ever. And it's like, well,
I never had a drop in my life.
Don't get drunk. just don't sin.
Yeah.
You
How
know?
about we just don't sin?
Yeah, how
We
about
should have a shirt that says, just don't sin.
just don't sin. Stop it. But yeah, it's just like these going too far. Like you're on a good roll, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of the end of it. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
So what you want to do when you're practicing self-denial, and it should be a practice. It should
Yeah.
be something that you are continuing and wanting and desiring to grow in as a Christian for the purpose of godliness. A good place to start and the accurate place to start is knowing that when you practice self-denial, start it from prayer. Ask God where. Hey God, what is something in my life I need to give up for the purpose of finding you in a new way?
Yeah.
Because if you just do it from your own, like, okay, I can do this and this and this, now you're still doing it from yourself.
Right.
Right? And everything should stem from God's prompting.
Yeah.
And so you need to pray and spend time in prayer and ask God where to give up.
Yeah.
And then when he highlights it to you, do it. Give it up and know that God is going to bless you with whatever he's going to bless you with.
Yeah. I can think of a great example of one of those too.
Come on.
A great example of something that you need, or I think we all need to deny ourselves of, is Haribo's sugar-free gummy bears.
And here
Everybody
we are.
needs to deny themselves of those
Deny
gummy bears.
yourself of
Because they will set you on fire.
Haribo, whatever it is. Sugar-free gummy bears. Now, if you made it to the end of the show and you sat through it, this is your reward. You get to know about this. If
Well, you get to have a gummy bear now. You made it.
Yeah, don't give them gummy bears. That's not a reward. If you want to have a good 15 minutes.
A great time. Maybe even longer.
Maybe longer, depending on how
But
much
how fast you read, yeah.
Go on Amazon, look up sugar-free gummy bears.
Haribo gummy bears.
Gummy bears,
or however you
sugar-free.
pronounce it.
And just read the reviews.
Yeah. Look for the one that has like 1.5 billion reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
You'll have a good time.
for one,
Yeah.
a slight, just to wet your whistle in this, one of the reviews says, oh my gosh, I ate these, and it was like shoving Niagara Falls through a coffee straw. Like, on the toilet. And they're just like these so funny and like so well written experiences.
Some of them are so amazing. Like they have to be like English students like writing these essays because they're so beautifully
I mean,
written.
what else are you gonna do with an English major?
Yeah. Just write Amazon reviews. Fake Amazon reviews.
But
That's fantastic.
earlier we said it equates to sin.
Yeah.
And so how it equates to sin is that it seems sweet, it seems harmless, it seems cute, but
Tastes
in the
good.
end,
Yeah.
it's destructive.
Yeah. Brings death.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
You're going to enjoy it for a little bit, and then you will suffer the consequence.
Yeah.
So don't do
Separation.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Separation from butt cheek to butt cheek.
Yes.
But don't eat it. Don't
Yes.
sin.
Yes.
Oh, man.
For everybody still listening, we have a Patreon. We have an Instagram that's popping off. And we also are making stickers this week. We just fixed our logo a little bit, and we're going to put out stickers. They're probably like 2x2 squares.
Yeah.
It's going to look good. You have them on your water bottle. There's like normal size stickers. You can get them by signing up on Patreon. We got really cheap options, $1, $2, $5, stuff like that.
3 and 5.
Oh, okay. 3 and 5, sorry.
3 and 5. It was just Patreon said, like, you probably shouldn't have anything less than 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, they know what they're doing.
That makes sense. So $3, you have stickers in different tiers, not just stickers in those tiers. So if you want to check it out, we have a link in our bio of our Instagram.
Do
Go
it.
and check it out.
Do it.
Do
All
it.
right, guys. Have
It's
the greatest
been fun.
week ever.
Adios.
Goodbye.